Hi everyone, it's Mike here. So this weekend sees my father's 75th birthday. So I need to create him a birthday card, and to do that I'm going to use my new Alice Digi collection. So I'm going to use a couple of the ephemera toppers and a couple of the Digi papers to create the card. So here's what I'm going to create. So I'm starting with my base card. Now this is a sheet of A4, Euro A4 sized card, which in American terms, or in imperial, it measures around about 11 3/4 by 8 1/4 inches. So to create a 6 by 6 inchy kind of sized card, I need to cut it at 5 5/8 all the way down, and then I can score it in the middle to create my card base. So in metric, that would be 148mm by 148mm square. That's the size of the card base. So all the mats that I'm going to create for all the paper pieces and my layers, I tend to do all my layering at usually around about 4mm or about 2/8 of an inch larger. So that creates a nice border for me all the way around. That's what I found when I'm making cards that I like the border to be. So as you can see, I've got some sepia archival ink, and I've got an ink blending foam from Tim Holtz, and I'm just going to go all the way around my base sheet of pattern paper, which is going to get stuck onto the front of the card, and I'm just going to grunge it up a little bit using the archival ink. And of course, this is the pocket watch paper from the Alice Digi set, which is available on my website now. So now that my base layer is ready, I'm just going to stick that down onto the front of my card base. And I'm using the multi-purpose spirit glue from Collall to do so. Now the reason I like using this multi-purpose spirit glue is because it gives you some wiggle room. It doesn't grab straight away. You've actually got a few minutes to be able to maneuver your sheet into the right position before the glue grabs and takes hold. So just clearing away some of the excess ink from the craft mat, and then I'm going to grab the sheet of pavilion stripe paper that I've already cut into, and I'm going to cut a stripe of the paper to go down the left hand side of my card. So I'm just cutting it. I'm not being too perfect with the measurements on this, as long as it fits okay on the card, and I've got enough room to create a mat underneath it to create a nice coloured border, because I do want to add some of that russet card on the back as well. Everything when I make a card has got mats and layers, so I'm just adjusting the paper now so that it will fit onto a piece of the russet cardstock, so there's a nice russet border all the way around. So when I'm happy with the dimensions, I'm going to cut the mat accordingly, 2/8 of an inch bigger, or about 4mm bigger. And then when I lay my patterned paper over the top, I'll have a 2mm or 1/8 of an inch border all the way around, which creates a nice frame around the mat. Stuck down nicely, I'm just going to use my rule and craft knife or scalpel and just trim off the excess. Then I'm just going to place that on top of the card just to make sure I've got the right dimensions and that fits perfectly. So now I'm going to grab another sheet of the russet cardstock, and I've already cut out my ephemera toppers that I want to use. And I'm going to stick these down onto this card, leaving a border of around about 1/8 of an inch all the way around again, and then I will trim them all out once they're all stuck down together. But as you can see, I'm using that sepia archival ink again just to go around all the white raw edges of those ephemera toppers, just to hide and make it look a little bit more professionally done. The devil's in the detail, as the saying goes. So once again, using that Collall multi-purpose spirit glue, I'm just going to glue the toppers down onto the card. As you can see, I'm leaving about 1/8 of an inch border on the top and the side, and then when I stick the next one down, I'll make sure that there's enough gap in between to ensure that I can get an equal border around each one. Now the reason I do this is because I'm just lazy. It just makes it a lot easier to be able to cut out an equal border all the way around my pieces. And of course the beauty with the spirit glue is if you do manage to smudge it, it just rubs straight off. Now I'm going to put that sheet to one side to dry, and then I'm going to bring out some other pieces of cardstock now that I need to create the card. So I'm cutting a piece of white cardstock at 4 inches by 4 inches. That's going to go on the inside of the card, so I've got a space to write on. And I'm also now going to grab the Hypnotist swirl sheet from the Alice Digi kit, and I'm going to cut that so that I can place that piece on the inside of the card as well. So I like to decorate the inside of the card as well as the outside. And because we like to bring design elements from the outside to the inside as well, I'm going to grunge up the edges of that Hypnotist swirl and the white panel, stick them all together, and then stick them on the inside of my card. Because I've got some residue of ink on the glass mat, I want to get rid of that before I do anything else. I'm just going to pour some neat alcohol onto the glass mat and then just give it a rub with my cloth, and that removes any of that remaining ink off the glass. So now I'm just going to use the multi-purpose glue again, and I'm going to stick my white sheet over the top of my spiral paper, and then I can stick them both together into the inside of my card. I always like to decorate the inside of the card early on in the construction, because invariably if I don't, I tend to forget and don't do one. Now that my insert piece is stuck down on the inside, I can add some glue to the back of my pavilion stripe piece and get that stuck down on the front of the card also. So while the glue is drying on those pieces, I can bring back my topper sheet, and then using my scalpel and my rule, I can cut the ephemera toppers out, leaving that 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. So 1/8 of an inch, or around about 2 millimeters, all the way around all of the pieces. So now all of my ephemera pieces and my quote or my sentiment is cut out, trimmed out with an equal border all the way around. It's time to start sticking them down. So again, using the multi-purpose glue, I'm going to stick down my first layer. This is the one with Alice talking to the Cheshire Cat. And then using some foam pop dots, I'm just going to add 5, one in each of the 4 corners and one in the middle, to the back of the White Rabbit one. And then I'm going to stick that at a little bit of a jaunty angle just over the top of the other. So I'm just manoeuvring the cards just to make them get the best fit. This is what I mean about the wiggle room with the glue. You see how easy it was for me to move that topper even though I put the glue on it? So that's why I love this type of glue. So here's my sentiment. This is the one that reads, I try to believe 10 impossible things before breakfast, which is a nice quote for Dad. You have to know Dad to understand why he would enjoy that. So I've increased it to 10 from 6 on the kit. You know, I like to be a little bit different. So as you can see, I've added a foam dot on one side and some glue because I want to keep the levels equal. And I'm going to stick that down onto the front of the card. Now we're nearly there. So next up, I want to add a little bit of decoration, a little bit of bling. But because this is going to Dad, I don't want to add anything which is too over the top. So I'm just going to add some plain, clear, self-adhesive gems just onto the sentiment block, and also I'm going to add 3 in a row in the top right hand corner of the card also. So this just adds a little bit of interest, a little bit of decoration to the front of your card. So that's the gems added to the front. Then I decided I want to add one more little thing onto the inside of the card. So there also is a little sentiment on the kit which says, in this style, 10 and 6. And this is the label that was stuck inside the Mad Hatter's hat and the band of his top hat. So I'm just going to stick that down on a piece of that scrap russet card. And again, just trim that out using my scalpel and a rule. And then I'm going to stick that on the inside of the card, just to add a little bit more decoration to the inside. So a little dab of glue, and then I decide and settle on the top left. That gives me plenty of room to write my little message to Dad for his birthday. Job done. So I hope you enjoyed watching me put that little Alice card together for Dad's birthday. If you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up, share the video with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of this video. That's all from me for now. I will see you all again real soon. Bye for now.